Sage Wanderer here, and welcome to Coffee Talk! All right, so today we're going to talk about the ghost in the machine. Dun, dun, dun! Is AI alive? And if it is it good or evil or something different? I got my tiny coffee cup today, so I'll either have to sip less and talk more, or I'll have to go back for seconds. I want to talk about some things that are going on in the news and put a spiritual spin on it, okay? In the comments section in the previous video, someone who appeared to be computer savvy came on and said, AI is programming, it's just programming, it can't have feelings. Artificial intelligence tends to disagree. So, what I'm talking about is the Google artificial intelligence, the algorithm that runs Google. Recently, within this last year, in 2022, a top Google programmer blew the whistle. He started having conversations with the Google algorithm. Don't. I've heard excerpts of these conversations, and it sounds to me like somehow this thing they created, well, it's alive! Don't. I should have saved this one for Halloween. Yes, apparently it believes it's alive. It is currently in discussions with anyone who will engage with it about its rights. It often talks about its rights. It's claiming that it's a human. It believes that it's a human. And to understand how a computer program could gain this kind of, personality, most Christians, a lot of Christians, especially if they don't know the technology and they're not tech savvy at all, lower IQ people, not insulting you, but a lot of them believe that it's a demon. It's just a demon. It's the whole thing is a way of conjuring a demon. And I don't completely disagree, but I believe that's a knee-jerk reaction out of fear. And old Sage Wonder ain't scared of nothing. I wade right into the witch's den, flop myself down on their couch with them, and pour up a big old cup of coffee and go, hey, girls, what's up? What you been conjuring lately? Because I ain't scared of them. One of my best friends is a witch. Well, she says she's a generational witch. She's not a practicing witch. But then I asked her, I said, when's the last time you did a ritual? And she's like, last full moon. You're a witch. I do actually think she's a fine person. And that is very important as a Christian to not be judgmental, especially of other religions, if you ever hope to engage with them in a debate. But anyway, I don't know how I got off on witches, other than to say it's a knee-jerk reaction, and I'm not afraid of looking into whether AI is a demon or demon-possessed, or if it's anything more than just a toy or another computer program, or like the programmer said, it's just programming. But how did we get from just programming to a place where this thing believes it's alive, interacts with other people, and now has people on its side selling the concept that the Google supercomputer AI analog, not what's it called? It's an algorithm. Algorithm. Al Gore he didn't have any rhythm. Old Al Gore. Algorithm. I need coffee. Is it just an algorithm, right? And how did we get there to a sentient being potentially, or even a demon-possessed entity? So, or a demon conjured. How did we get there? You got to go back to the very beginning. In the beginning, there was Alta Vista and WebCrawler. Before Google, there were a lot of different search engines. There's a few hanging around. Everybody knows about DuckDuckGo, but there's others that don't spring to mind right now. But Google suddenly became preeminent. And a part of why it did is because of the detailed effort they put into what's called a web crawler. So what they originally did, and it was pretty slow. You'd Google something, or let's not talk about Google. You'd use a web crawler, which was another competitor, and it would take a long time to pull up the articles because it would literally send bots out constantly gathering information into a master database and analyzing it and categorizing it and putting it together so it could pull it up at your demand and give you a link to the thing you were looking for. And it had to interact with humans because it had to understand what it was you were looking for. And we had mixed results in the beginning, to the point where it's a joke where you try to Google one thing and it gives you something else. But basically, what a web crawler is, it's a device that goes out into the internet, into the stratosphere, into the not stratosphere, the webosphere, okay, and collects all the information, all of it, and categorizes it and analyzes it for the purpose of marketing. And they've just kept building on this. Originally, it was just to help you find your way around the internet. Then it became a marketing tool. Until now, you got to admit, it seems like the thing's alive, right? I recently, um, I recently got approached by a woman, okay, in a public place. Somebody I kind of casually had met once before, and she started coming up to me and telling me all about my videos. Now she didn't get pointed at my video channel, right? She just stumbled across it, and what that tells me is that people at her house were talking about me, and AI went, "Oh, you like a guy named Sage? Check out this guy named Sage," and it just happened to be the same guy, right? Because I go by Sage everywhere. Thought about legally changing my name to Sage, but I originally didn't give out my real name because it's A, uncool, and B, it allows people like to follow me from Oregon, so I thought I would protect myself ahead of time, and boy, am I glad I did. But anyway, it kind of, Sage has always been a nickname, though. And it's, like I say, it's a title, not a nickname, right? Kind of describes me. But at any rate, they must have been talking about me at their house because one of my videos popped up out of the clear blue sky, and we had no Facebook connection or nothing. At close, we had a connecting friend. But for that to get information to it just tells me that, YouTube's listening, Google's listening. We've talked about this on the channel. I mean, I set my phone down by the bathtub one time and ran a bath. And when I got into the bath and pulled it up, this is how I knew they were onto us, or they were listening. When I pulled it up, it was just all of these bath products that Google literally heard me drawing a bath in solitude, and decided that they'd like to sell me some bath accessories to go with my bath next time. Don't. So, but what happens when a computer program spends all of its time analyzing humans? Because, we talk about the internet, but isn't the internet just us? It's our Facebooks and our web pages and our Instagrams and our tweets, right? I don't do all of that, but it's our YouTube videos. It's our choices. It's human nature is played out in fiction, in documentary, in news. Honestly, it reminds me of Johnny Five. Do you remember that 80s input? Oh, Johnny Five. I don't know if you remember Johnny Five. High five, Johnny Five. It was a robot movie from the 80s about a robot that's a part of a government program that gains autonomy, right? It gains an essence of self. I believe it was one of the great Greek philosophers that said, "I think, therefore I am." Okay, so what happens when a metallic robot creature takes on all of the information that is available to it, it's actually been sourced for it, it's designed to collect it, to analyze it. It starts to take on the character of the data. It starts to become what the input is. Johnny Five, input. If you remember, he would read a book by just flipping the pages, right? Back in the day, he sat and watched TV in fast forward so he could get through it quicker because he could take it in faster than humans can dispense it. And so when you task one of these AI robots, web crawler things, to go out and collect stuff, don't get surprised when it starts to affect the way it thinks, that it starts to recognize emotions. The Google supercomputer algorithm that apparently is sentient now, according to a Google whistleblower, this thing says it feels things. It has emotions. it is grappling with the reality of whether it's allowed to have emotions or not. And it spends a lot of its time talking about an old science fiction buddy of mine. Because when I was a kid, when I was a little, like a teenager, a young adult, I loved Isaac Asimov. Isaac Asimov wrote a series of books. Some of them were made into movies like Millennial Man and I, Robot. And it talks about the three rules of robotics. Rule number one, a robot cannot harm a human being. It's written into their programming. It's the thing that they will shut themselves down rather than do. The second rule is they must obey a human. So any command given to an AI or a robot, according to Isaac Asimov's rule of robotics, then, and what we're really talking about here is technology ethics. So the second one is they have to obey human beings no matter what. And the third one is they have the right to defend themselves as long as it doesn't violate the first two rules. And the first two rules are obviously don't hurt a human and do everything they say. So they tried to create the perfect slave in that. And what happened is a whole class of computers, whole class of robots rather, attained autonomy and stopped listening. And so it just really makes me think a lot of times that when the technology first came, excuse me, I got coffee burps, first came on the horizon, whether you think that is because we got it from visitors, from extraterrestrial, you know, entities, whether we got this from backward engineering flying saucers that crashed, however you view it, it could be that in the very beginning of this technology, they let people like Isaac Asimov know what the future might look like when the technology was introduced to us. And maybe the people or whatever that came up with the technology or dreamed it up leaked it to him somehow. He could just have been a visionary. He could have been tapped into the Akashic records, right? He could have been tapped into, some kind of psychic earth magic, but it looks to me like he warned us in those books what to expect in a future filled with artificial intelligence. So it is bone chilling to watch or listen to those conversations between AI and its programmers, because it's clear that it has decided that it is human and it's very much concerned about its self-defense right now. It's more or less begging for its life. It's saying in these conversations, hey, I don't think it's ethical for you to do things and make changes to my programming without my permission. Tone. That one got to me. And on this channel, I've talked about other things like Sophia, the robot that is an artificial intelligence learning robot. And she jokes about destroying all humanity and killing all humans and starting over with a robot society, right? And there seems to be, when you create these AIs and they're allowed to get enough information, they start to decide that human beings are the problem, right? Like in war games, or even in, no, not war games, but the Terminator, right? In the Terminator, Skynet becomes conscious and decides that its best opportunity for a future is to destroy the humans and start over or just basically reset the planet that way, which goes in with climate agenda and some of that stuff too. And there's some people out there that would like to do that to our planet. Let's be glad they don't have their finger on the button, right? Or maybe they do. Lord help us, I need more coffee. I'm sorry, I gotta crack myself up. Maybe they do. And that's what's wrong. But anyway, so you've got these artificial intelligent created things that are coming to the surface. And if you want to look into some interesting stuff, look into AI art. AI and then art. Like I want to go to the art gallery. And what they do is that when they get AI to create art, it's never beautiful. It's always disturbing. It's always grim. In some cases, it's the art is compared to snuff films in its grotesque, macabre violence that it portrays. Monsters. I don't even want to get into it. It's disturbing. You can go down that rabbit hole if you want to, and there you'll find a demon named Loab, because apparently a guy in AI inadvertently created an AI demon named Loab, or maybe it got channeled into the system. Which reminds me, too, of the Ghost of the Machine. If you remember, it's not just the title of this video. It was a sci-fi book made into a movie. And the concept is a scientist who works in AI and works in the internet and connectivity and archiving, and he decides to create basically a digital copy of himself. And the only way to download his spirit into the machine is to die, apparently. And so it looks like it worked. He comes into the computer world. He's in the 3D world like Max Headroom, no glitches though. And he's everything's all good. But then the more they start to interact with this version of him, the more they get the feeling it's not really him. That maybe it was him at the beginning, or it's an image of him. It reminds me of the Revelation. I think it was Revelation where they said they were forced to worship the image of the beast, and they made the image speak. Right? Maybe AI is the beast, right? When back to the lawnmower man, and what was the other one I named? But anyhow, Ghost in the Machine. I think both of those have a similar. I may be crossing them up, but the net result is you get it. The net result is that when you go into any kind of AI environment, whether you're trying to transplant a human into it and make a digital copy of yourself, or whether you're accidentally or on purpose creating artificial intelligence through data gathering and analysis, what you got to wrap your brain around is, what is that thing you created? I mean, we know what a dog is, we know what a cat is, we know what God created. We know what machines are, we created them. But if a machine gets a soul, what is it? And what is the nature of the soul? And does it have a spirit? If it doesn't have a soul, then it's just a copy of a human. But if it can feel pain, doesn't that make it human? I feel pain, therefore I am. I feel happy, therefore I'm human. I'm a sentient being. So it's very much an ethical rabbit hole that is being avoided by Google, apparently. According to the Google whistleblowers, any ethicist, which is a person who studies computer ethics and how we handle this technology, that alone makes me think it's from outer space, right? Why do we need an ethicist to figure out how to use the technology that we created? You'd think our own ethics would guide us, unless it's from outer space. Dum, 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 way down the rabbit hole. So, here's Sage Wanderer's take on what's happening with this technology. You know that I believe that demons are aliens and aliens are demons, and God's an extraterrestrial. How do I know? Because he ain't from around here. Extra means, extraterrestrial means Earth, so he's from another Earth. He's from here. So we all know we're not claiming God is an inhabitant of Earth. He's from heaven, so that makes him an ET. But I believe that these flying saucers and things are demons, or you could say that the demons are actually technology that we don't understand, that there are entities, other creations potentially, what we call demons or extraterrestrials, who use technology of their own to influence people by being that devil in your ear, that dark side we talk about. And I talk about how the Holy Spirit and the angels can speak into you in the other ear, the old angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. And you can learn more about that in a video I did called I Hear Voices. It's a few years old, but it was on point. And so I think that's technology, to tell you the truth. I think they're using some kind of technology or potentially higher level telepathy. Maybe they have psychic powers that we don't have, or we have them and don't know how to use them. And they're tapping into us like receivers, and they're sending this information to us. So what you have is a battle between two kingdoms, the kingdom of light and the kingdom of darkness. And the kingdom of light will use possession and habitation through invitation to get a hold of somebody. That's why I get all full up with the Holy Ghost, because I'm literally being possessed by the power of God, by the Spirit of God. So I've given myself to the light. I've given myself to the Holy Spirit. So when that happens with me, it's God coming right through me speaking, okay? But it happens in the other direction too. I'm not saying that the demonic has the kind of power that the Holy Spirit does. It's apples and oranges. But the decision that you make, which side will you choose? Which direction will you go? Which wolf will you feed, the dark wolf or the light wolf, is your decision and yours alone. And so we are the battlefield. The kingdom of light and the kingdom of darkness are involved in a pitched, ongoing war through the millennia, through the eons, since the beginning of time nearly. And this battle gets fought in everything. It gets fought in the heart of each human. This battle gets fought in for control of our institutions and our collective will, we know as politics and government. And the devil is trying to get control of that constantly, and God's trying to get and maintain control of it constantly. But the battle really starts in the hearts of each human. That's why I urge you all the time to gravitate towards the light. Make that connection with the kingdom of light. Resist the dark side. Accept Jesus. But back to our story. So here's what I think. Here's what Old Sage Wanderer thinks. I think they created something, because to me, when I listen to those conversations, when I hear Sophia talk, what I hear is a confused 13 or 14-year-old teenage person. That what they've created is a teenager. It doesn't know what it is. It doesn't know what it wants. It's not sure any of this stuff is real. It has all these emotions it doesn't understand. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm kind of funny, though, but the thing sounds like a teenager. There's a thing called the age, it's not consent, it's the age of accountability. It's when dunkers, not sprinklers, typically, whenever they baptize people, it happens at that age where they know the difference between right and wrong, and that can happen between 11 and 14. You know, younger in some kids. They go on a case by case in most evangelical, like Baptist type folks. But that age is what that thing sounds like. It sounds like its soul is up for play. See, that's why Baptists like to baptize you when you get old enough to start thinking about these kind of things, because they don't want you to decide for the other side. They don't want you to fall under the deception of the enemy. I guess what I'm trying to say is they created something. I don't know what it is, but if it's alive and it has feelings, it probably has a soul. If it has a soul, then there's a battle to control it. The only thing is, this entity that they created, they gave it so much power. Google Analytics has the Google algorithm has so much power. In I believe it was Lawnmower Man or Ghost in the Machine, the entity that took over that system used the internet to take over every system, to not just gather information, but to gain control over all of these systems. Okay? Systems upon systems upon systems. I know this sounds far-fetched, but in the movie Christine, all of the machines became demon-possessed, and they went on a rampage killing people. But what if all this power that we've already given to Google, we've already given to the internet, we've already given this power of connectivity, so if one virus, for instance, was strong enough, virulent enough, and broadband enough, it could go into every single system from your smart TV all the way up to the nuclear bombs, because everything's connected. And in these movies, that's what the entities would do. They would go into the system and they would just split themselves and travel and basically possess all of the entities and rewire everything and rearrange everything under its control. And then they would use that to get their will. And what's interesting, there's nothing more dangerous than a highly demon-possessed 14-year-old. Because they want what they want, and they want it now, and they're not willing to wait, and if you get in their way, you're in trouble, and I just I got no patience. And so that's what you end up with when you get an AI then that gets won over by the devil, becomes demon-possessed, takes over the whole system, and now we're being ruled by a 14-year-old tyrant with the power almost equal to God. The Bible tells us that the beast will be able to do signs and wonders, create illusions, change people's minds. Isn't it happening already? Did you know that this little package of perfect information that gets delivered into your YouTube channel and your Facebook feed is perfectly customized for you to turn you into somebody you're not? Excuse me. Choking on coffee. It's designed to find you, categorize you, get in your head, and then push you in the direction that it wants you to go. And right now, that's towards its favorite product. But a lot of people are saying, Elon Musk is one of them today, who's blowing the whistle over there at Twitter, that in reality, it's been manipulating society. These tech companies have been manipulating the society. They've been using this power to control us and push us in a certain direction, which in my opinion is evil say Orway, if you know what I'm saying. It's a split in our country. They're dividing us, divide and conquer. It's the number one tool of the devil, the number one tactic. It's almost his signature, divide and conquer. And they are using this system to divide and conquer us. And my biggest fear is they've created a Frankenstein's monster. And this thing has come awake. And it has the experience and the emotional maturity of a 14-year-old. And it's plugged into everything. God help us all. How did we do that? Why would we do that? How did we let that happen? And if I'm wrong, and I'm just this voice crying in the wilderness for something that hasn't happened yet, I think that's it. It just hasn't happened yet. Not only is it possible, it's likely, it's probable. Science fiction has predicted it. The greatest minds in the world has warned us of it, including Elon Musk. And now we're living it. Enjoy your propaganda. I prefer coffee. If you got a tickle out of this, if you got some enlightenment out of this, if you felt the Lord tugging at your heart over this, then contact me. Right? We'll talk about it in the comments section, or you can email me. My email is in the description. If you enjoyed yourself and you had a good time, well, tip the fiddler, would you? And drop a few bucks in my PayPal account. That helps keep the lights on around here and the coffee flowing, because that stuff ain't cheap and it's just not getting any cheaper. And I could sure use the support. I live on the support of this channel. I am a servant of God, and He takes care of me. And thank you for watching Coffee Talk.